everybody. Greg Seaman here from Blues and Rock Guitar, and let's get right into our lesson. I've got a great 1969 Fender Precision bass here that I'm playing, and I want to talk about modes and using modes and scales to develop bass lines for bass players. I love bass. Bass is a fun instrument to play, and I'm looking at the bass scale chart that I have, and I will put that up on the screen so that you can take a look at it. And I've got the neck divided into 5 sections. The top part has got numbers, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the example for scale shape number 1. Below it is exactly the same scale shape with the fingers, fingering, instead of like some books and charts will use just dots, but I actually put numbers in there so that you could see which fingers am I supposed to use when you're playing. It's just fingering suggestion that I have. So the numbers are supposed to be the degrees of the scales. So it's if I'm playing obviously on F, 1 is F, 2 is G, 3 is B, 4 is, A, 4 is B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. So I'm playing in the key of F when I'm playing right here with the B's being flat. Now, when I'm looking at that first scale shape, I'm going across the neck. Now the bass is tuned to fourths, similar to a guitar. So E to A is a fourth, A to D is a fourth, D to G is a fourth. So I'm tuning the bass guitar is tuned to fourths. So what that does is it makes it conducive for us to be able to play our major chord triads and our scale shapes in these nice little neat groups of either 4 or 5 frets. So the way that bass players develop bass lines is by using scale shapes and modes, and also by using chords. But bass players usually play the arpeggio. We're usually playing the notes of the chord, as opposed to like a guitar player strumming, obviously. So the guitar player is strumming a G chord, I'm playing the notes of the G chord to develop my bass line, to use for my bass line. I can also use the notes from the G major scale to develop my bass line. So I'll use the notes from the scale and the notes from the chord and develop a bass line. So the first chord shape I have written on the sheet is the key of F starting on the 1st fret. The second chord shape then is on the 3rd fret. Scale shape, the second scale shape is on the 3rd fret. Now it starts on a 2. So remember that all 5 of these shapes is one big scale. It's the entire fretboard of the guitar, the entire fretboard of the bass. So that is a chunk of the scale taken out of the middle of the neck. It starts on 2, and then I play 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then there's 1, there's the F note, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, I could play it farther, but that's what's happening right there with the second scale shape. The 3rd scale shape starts on the 5th fret, and it starts on the number 3. Now, watch out, because the second scale shape starts on the number 2, so people could say, well, Greg, that's a number 2. I'm really playing in the Dorian mode, because Dorian is the 2nd mode, and I make the number 2 land on the root note of the key that I'm playing in. So that's really, sometimes people actually call this the Dorian scale. They'll call that the Dorian scale. Now, that is correct. It's convenient that it starts on 2. I can make that 2 land on whatever note. If I want to play an A Dorian, B Dorian, that's convenient, but it can be confusing to call it the Dorian scale shape. So, it's almost like implying that second scale shape is always Dorian. I only can play that in Dorian, which is not exactly correct. I can play it in all of the modes. I can play it in all 7 of the modes, because the number 1 is landing on an F. So actually, when I'm playing here, I am still playing the F major scale, because the number 1's on F. F, G, A, B flat, C, D. So, and the number 2 is actually, if F is 1, G is 2, G, A, B flat, C, D, F, or C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D. See what I'm saying? I'm actually playing the B flat. I'm just not starting on the root. I'm not starting on the tonic. I can start down here and go F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. So the ones are all landing on F when I'm doing that. And all the fours are landing on B flat. So the band, if the band is playing in the key of F, then I'm playing F major when I'm playing the first scale shape here at number 1, the second scale shape here at the 3rd fret, the third scale shape would be here at the 4th fret, the 5th scale shape would be here at the 8th fret, and the 5th scale shape's here at the 10th fret. And then I'm starting all over again. So when I get above the 12th fret, when I go to 13, it's the same as 1, so I'm starting over. So that's why if you're watching bass players when they play, and they play all over the neck, and they come up here, and they play their licks up here, that's how they're doing it. They have all 5 of those scale shapes memorized, and they're able to move through the scale shapes, you know, at will. So now let's go to another mode. Let's take this another step further. Let's play in the Dorian mode, and we're going to play in A Dorian. That means that we're going to use A minor as our first chord, and we're going to use D7 as our second chord. So A minor is the Dorian mode of the key of G. It's the second chord of the key of G. Okay, so and it's built on the second note of the key of G. So Dorian is built on the second note of the major scale. It goes whole step, half step. It goes, the first note to the second note is a whole step, the second note to the third note is a half step. That means that the 3 is flat. That's what makes it sound minor. The flat 3 is what makes a scale or a chord sound minor. That's the big separator. That's it. That's all you got to know. The flat 3 makes it sound minor. If it's a natural 3, it's going to sound major-ish. It's going to be in the major category. Even if it's Lydian mode or Mixolydian mode, those don't sound minor. It's the flat 3 that determines that it sounds minor. Okay, now I want to play an A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first scale shape. Again, I will flash this up on the screen so that you can look at the scale shape. I'm going to take scale shape number 1, and I'm going to locate the 2 on A. So that means if my second finger is landing on that A, G would be the first note here that I can start with G. G is actually the last note of the scale, A being 1, then A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and the F is sharp because I'm playing in the A minor is the Dorian mode of the key of G. So, and then the chords that we're going to use is going to be A and D7, A minor and D7. D7 is the 5 chord of the key of G. So if my tonal center is A minor and my 5 chord is D7, then I'm playing those 2 chords together is a Dorian mode chord progression. So, and then I'm going to use A. Usually bass players are just going to start off with the root tones. So I'm going to start off with the root tone here with A. Let's see, I should have my looper set up with an A minor, D. So the best way to start off is where you're just starting on the roots, right? Obviously, so here's A, here's D. Then I can go root 5th. This is just basic bass playing, we're using root 5th. All right? Now, I could play the notes of the scale. Now, that's all the notes of the Dorian mode, and I'm playing them using the first scale shape, making the number 2 land on A. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And when I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the root tone. So I'm starting off with just simple notes like, A, D, hitting the root first. Good way to get started is root first. Then you can do root fifth, root, fifth, root fifth, octave, fifth, root fifth, octave, fifth, root fifth. Now, what I'm going to do on count number 1 is I'm going to hit the root note, and then I'm going to use the notes of the scale to develop a bass line. Now I can use these notes in the scale, and I'm going to improvise a bass line. And I'm just going to try to be simple here. So I go root, play all the notes of the scale and not even hit the roots, and it's all going to sound right. This is the same way lead guitar players play the scales, use the bows, but I have to, of course, being the bass player, I have to be at my station in the combo unit. If I'm too busy and playing too many notes and everything, my bandmates are going to be going, dude, you're playing lead bass. Now the second scale shape would be right here on A. Third scale shape's here. Fourth scale shape's here at the 10th fret. Fifth scale shape's at the 12th fret. I'm sure just what I'm doing this is giving you ideas, going, oh. That's how we play in Dorian mode. Now let's do it in Aeolian mode. Same scale shape, same key. Let's use A minor. Okay, so now what's going to happen is I have to, again, on the diagram, I'm going to make the number 6 land on the root tone. I'm going to make the number 6 land on A. And if I do that, so like if I take the very first scale shape, the only A I can use is going to be here at the 12th fret. Obviously I can't use open. I don't have any place to go down there if I'm using the first scale shape, okay? So I'm going to go like this. And again, people will say, well, Greg, that's a C note. You're playing in the key of C, which is true. C Aeolian. This is C Aeolian here. But the 6th tone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is landing on A. A minor is C's relative minor. So if the chord progression starts on A minor and A minor is the tonal center, then you're playing in the key of A minor. Okay? So now I've got a chord progression here already set up in my little computer, and it's going to play in the key of A minor. What it's going to do is play A, then E minor, then F major 7, D, scale shape. The second scale shape is here. Play it wrong. Here's the third scale shape. I'll try to play this one right. Okay, so the fourth scale shape then is going to be landing here. I'm going to, instead of playing up here, I'm going to circle back around and play it down here. And the fifth scale shape is going to start on 6. Now, this one, it just so happens that it starts on 6. Okay, so don't get confused by calling that the Aeolian scale shape. It's not just the Aeolian scale shape. It can be played in all 7 modes. Actually, when I'm playing it here, the 6 is here on A, the 7 is on B, my little finger is landing on C, which says 1 on the chart. That's a C. So if the band's playing C, F, and G7, then I'm playing, right here, I'm playing the C major scale. But because it's starting off on A minor, and A minor is the tonal center, I'm playing the Aeolian mode chords. So Aeolian mode, the Aeolian mode of the key of C is A minor. It's the 6th one, C, D, E, F, G, A. So it's going to be the 6th tone. So, but it is convenient that the 6 starts on that, is at the kind of the beginning of that shape, so I can locate that 6 on the A and play it. But you want to be able to play all 5 of the scale shapes and know where they're at on the neck.